You always want to look at what the volume, if it's not going up on good volume, then it's not going to be a sustainable move. As we know, those light volume things have a tendency to be a house of cards. And so, the market is always manipulated, and you always have the institutions coming in. And a great way to get buyers to come in is to push the futures market up. And then when somebody sits down in the morning, novice traders, well, they hear the news. There's the news again.
Yeah,
they hear, the Dow was up 100 points today, and so they all, they want to buy. And the institutions use that in their favor to just say, okay, well, let's bring those buyers in, let's entice them in. So the better the news, the more reluctant I am. The fake out breakout is one of my favorite trades, and my mentor Joe used to always say, I'd say, how do you know that? How did you know that was going to happen? And he'd say, oh, that's just that little pop up to go down. And I'd think, how in the world could you see that? And what, it is certainly, if you think about it, it makes sense. This is how institutions are going to sucker everyone in. When we're at a high like this, they're not going to fight everybody for selling prices right there at the high. But if they barely break it out, then they sweep all the stops of anybody who went short on the double top. So there's some more buy orders, because if they went short, they've got a buy order stop. So it drives it up just a little bit.
Which they can see.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So now they sweep the stops, and they catch those, and that'll rally the market up just enough to get those fake out breakout, to get the breakout traders.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think just by their very nature, women have a tendency to be bargain shoppers. They look to buy low. So, as you know, trading is about buying low and selling high. They also have a tendency to be better multitaskers. So I guess just from balancing the jobs of a mother and a career woman, there's just a lot to multitasking. So that's a great skill in trading. And, there's qualities in women that make them better. They don't have as big of egos. Nothing against you men, but the reality of it is we don't have as big of an ego. We're more willing to say, you know what, that trade's not working out. Let's just get out of it. And you're exactly right that traditionally that has been the role of the woman. It was less so in the workforce. However, that shift has changed, but we haven't seen the number of women coming into finance as you would see in other areas and other careers. It's been slower growth into the finance industry, even today. So we've been doing a lot to try and encourage women, because a lot of times women think that maybe they'd have to have some special skill, and there's still this social stigma of women in finance for some reason. So we're doing our best to dispel that. I think women realized a long time ago that our skills in some areas are far stronger, and there's no reason for us not to take on any task. But we're seeing now more so, and I love teaching single women, single moms. I've taught women from 16 to 88, and I think it's just such a fantastic career for even a stay-at-home mom. Yeah. They can create an income for the family while still being at home with their children, and not only that, at the same time, they're learning a skill. Sometimes when you stay home for 20 years raising children, you get back in the workforce and your skills are very outdated. In this case, they're developing a skill at the same time while they're raising their children and creating an income, and that skill is going to create that financial well-being for the rest of their lives.